Hey YouTube, I'm here to talk about something that is really just a mixed bag for me, and that is, if you haven't heard, there is going to be an official Hellboy reboot, which really should come as no surprise because, many things, what hasn't gotten rebooted these days? Everything eventually does, whether it be King Kong, Godzilla, superheroes in general are pretty much almost notorious for this, but let's face it, a lot of classic films are being rebooted all the time. I hear there's going to be a Scarface reboot, all these things. So, it's not a big surprise. It's just not what I wanted. For anyone who doesn't know the history of the Hellboy series, uh, Hellboy first, before the films ever came out, it was a long running comic series by Mike Mignola. And then Guillermo del Toro, fresh off doing Blade 2, was selected to be the director for the first Hellboy film. It was his dream project. He even gave up doing Blade 3 for it, the same way that Bryan Singer gave up doing X-Men 3 in favor of Superman Returns. One thing about those Hellboy movies that a lot of people say, oh, it kind of diverged from the comics a lot, which to me has never been an excuse to say you don't like a movie since every superhero movie diverges from the comics. Hell, the comics diverge from the comics, so that to me has never been a legitimate complaint about the movies. Not to mention, if you look up interviews about the first film, Mike Mignola said clearly, he said he doesn't really, not per se care what happened to the movie. I'm paraphrasing here. He doesn't really care what happens to the movie, he says, but he trusted Guillermo del Toro enough that he said he doesn't care what changes you make to make the film happen. He'd be happy with the final product. And thus we got Hellboy. And to me, the Hellboy films are some of my favorite movies of all time. Not even regarding to super movies, they're some of my favorite movies of all freaking time. I love them to death. They are awesome films, with great characters and great dialogue, great scenes, great photography, great music. They're just fantastic movies to me. But uh, and Hellboy 3 was slated to come out, but it just could not get off the ground. And that's after the first movie had already switched distribution companies from, I believe, Columbia TriStar to Universal. And you may be wondering, well, why is that? Well, it all comes down to money. You know, you see, there was a time in Hollywood where you could get away with making a movie, and then, if it made, maybe double its budget back, you might be considered a box office success. And like it did that. Oh, that's really good. It's not mind blowing, but it's did good. That's the condition of the first Hellboy. It wasn't like a $1 billion box office, dominating juggernaut, but it still made enough to warrant a sequel. The problem with Hollywood now is superhero movies become so big. If it's not a humongous box office knockout, then it does not count as a success, apparently, because Hellboy 2 did not flop at box office, but it didn't make as much as the other superhero movies coming out that year, namely Dark Knight, Iron Man, and probably Incredible Hulk 2, which to me you could chalk it up to many factors, namely that's a really tough competition to be in the middle of, Dark Knight, which made $1 billion that year, Iron Man was, also a really good movie, although I feel like Hellboy 2 better. But, I think that it's really unfair for Hollywood to do it that way. However, it is their money. If they want to maximize the profits, I suppose, go ahead. And the thing is, you see that formula taking place a lot. And, people pretty much judge movies now by how much they make half the time. Hence, that's why Transformers, no matter how shitty those movies are, they make $800 million to $1 billion every single movie. Hence why these shitty movies keep getting made by Michael Bay, because people, doesn't matter how shitty they are, will continue to see them. Which is just really sad, considering really good movies that are a lot better, like Dread, can't see the light of fucking day for a sequel. Although I did hear there's rumors of a TV show in the works for that franchise. So yeah, it just really, really bothers me. Really bothers me how this all works out. Which is why I was so astounded when Godzilla's 14. It didn't make $1 billion. It made maybe I think triple its budget back, and they considered that a humongous success. And now they want to move forward. Because I'm so glad Kong Skull Island was a success. I think it made also triple or so its budget back. So of course the MonsterVerse is going to live on and make more movies. So the fact that Hellboy 3 couldn't happen though still really saddens me because God, it was something I was really, really looking forward to. I uh, because the story wasn't finished. So I don't know. I guess we'll never see that. And you know what? And let me say some of the good news though. I mean, director for the new Hellboy is Neil Marshall. Neil Marshall is a fantastic director. This is the guy behind The Descent, Dog Soldiers. He directed some episodes of Game of Thrones, namely Watchers on the Wall, basically the big battle episode, and also Battle of Blackwater Bay. So this is a man who's done some of my favorite horror movies, and he's just a really great director. I mean, granted, I think he's a great, fantastic choice, and maybe now it will be closer to comics because I've only read a few Hellboy comics. I have not read them thoroughly. I definitely need to, but my reading list is really big right now. But so they have a great director. They already have picked the Hellboy actor. I don't know if it's super confirmed yet, but supposedly it's the guy David Harbour. I haven't seen any of his work. The only reason I know of him, everybody knows of him, I guess, is because he was in Stranger Things, which I have not watched. Because once again, I have between school and a big place of things to watch and things to read, it's a little hectic. But the thing with to me is because like I said, Neil Marshall is fantastic. David Harbour, I haven't watched any Strange Things. I've heard nothing but good things about it. So I mean, those are really good signs. Better than hear me like Michael Bay got a hold on it. I'm just really sad because man, the cast. It's pretty rare that I feel like a casting was perfect, but I really felt that they really nailed it with the first one. Ron Perlman was Hellboy, not just in looks, but in demeanor, his acting. It was great. John Hurt as Professor Broom, Doug Jones is eternally great. Even Selma Blair I thought was really good. And I mean, Guillermo Toro is just a fantastic director. I was watching Crimson Peak the other day, rewatching after watching in theaters, and I love everything he's ever done. Really, so the fact that he didn't get to see his dream come true really saddens me, and the fact that Pacific Rim 2 is also no longer in his hands. I'm just kind of like, what the hell? What the hell is going on in the world that we can't appreciate a really great director like Guillermo Toro? What the flying fuck? But like I said, it's not all bad. Chances are it will be good. Hesitant to say this because I mean, it's barely getting announced right now. Excuse me, which means the film itself will probably not come out for another 2-3 years. If they actually announce a script has been done somewhere between the end of the year, then yes. I mean, either way, the movie's not coming out probably 2019 because they have to work on a script from scratch. Will it redo the Hellboy story, like reintroduce him? Uh, I would not advise it because we all saw Amazing Spider-Man, and despite that film's merits, almost everybody complains that why the hell are you going to redo his origin since they were pretty much covered in the first Hellboy. Batman Begins redid Batman's origin. It was because in Batman 1989, it didn't cover his origins at all, really, except for one small flashback scene, which is really great scene in that movie, and a great movie. So Batman Begins was just elaborating on what we didn't really know, because still didn't know a lot about him. But Hellboy was pretty much covered in Hellboy 1, that he was discovered after a Nazi experiment. He came from another dimension, basically, probably hell or something like that. Not entirely sure, really. But it was another dimension with a Cthulhu-like looking monster. He was sent here to destroy us, but he ended up being raised at a military base by the BPRD, by Professor Broom. And from there, you don't really need to know that much more. I mean, it's not like we need to see a Batman Begins type thing. We need to see his years of training. Not really. So that would be one thing I'm hoping for. If you're gonna redo it, please, for the love of God, don't redo the origins. Another thing, do practical effects. Do not make Hellboy CGI. Do not make Ape Sapien CGI. Please don't. I will be furious. As we saw with Hellboy 1 and 2, there's no reason you can't make Hellboy practical effects. He looked thoroughly convincing, was great. Don't do it. Don't do it. I will refuse to pay for it if I watch the trailer and CGI. Uh, Other than that, I mean, we can only wait and see as more announcements are made. I really need to see who they pick to play. It's the thing. When Batman Begins, it was so long ago. I mean, well, yeah, Batman Begins, you could say that. Any Batman movie, really, because it's been rebooted many times now. It was sad to see, Michael Keaton go. He didn't make it a third movie. It was sad to see Christian Bale go, but it was really great to see Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Those are fantastic casting picks. Uh, so technically speaking, if they do really good with the casting, it could be just like that. Like it's a surprise and you end up enjoying it. But I don't know. I just felt really, really in tune with the casting choices for the first two films. It'd just be really hard for me as a fan to embrace the new cast. But I'm not totally against it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've loved many reboots. So I just want to express my feelings on that. I really hope it turns out as a really great film. It's Neil Marshall, so I'm pretty sure it will. One last thing, I did hear it was going to be an R-rated. Once again, I'll need to read more Hellboy comics to really get a feel for this. But I read a few, and I never got the vibe that it needed to be rated R. Because sure, there was some violence, yeah, but there wasn't like a whole lot of cursing and sex and drug use. So I don't think it needs to be rated R per se. But not to mention being R-rated kind of defeats the whole purpose of making more money, since usually being R-rated makes it harder to make money. There are exceptions like Deadpool, but then again, on the other hand, there are things like Dread. Dread was a movie that did not do well at the box office, and that can be blamed for advertising a number of things. R-rated movies can be successful, but it is a tough line to bear. If you're going to make an R-rated superhero movie, you're gonna have to advertise the living shit out of it. A lot of people say a movie doesn't work at the box office because of poor advertising. So that means if it's gonna be R-rated, you cannot hold back and advertise. You gotta really, really just ram it down people's throats before it comes out. You know, Web trailers, movie deals with advertisements, all that good shit. So, I mean, that's. I'm a little sad, feeling a lot of anxiety towards it, but I am looking forward to it. I'm waiting for new Hellboy stuff since 2008 because we've been hoping for Hellboy 3 for so long and it just never got the green light. I was hoping Legendary Pictures would pick it up since they take chances, between with Godzilla and everything else. And they brought Jurassic World, which is, a sequel but also a reboot. I was hoping that they would get a step behind it, but it did not happen. However, at least they give him a Jones' other project, Pacific Rim. So that's how I feel about it. Let me know what you think about the Hellboy reboot. Are you going to really miss Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro, along with Doug Jones and everyone else? Tell me what you think about it and your ideas. Maybe who should do the composing. That's pretty important for the movie. And all those other things. I mean, do you really think Neil Marshall can live up to what Guillermo did for the movies? Do you think Toro sucked and maybe thought, like you said, a lot of people say it should be more comic accurate? Let me know in the comments.